and honorables who happen to be in the audience. I would also like to welcome the USAID Mission Director, Leslie Marbury. Thank you for coming. So today's session is about youth agripreneurship. And before going forward, I want to ask, how many people in this room work in the agricultural sector currently? Good. So we've got a lot of interest in agriculture. Fantastic. And how many of you have worked in the field in production on a regular basis? Okay, still a few. So one of the things we'll be talking about today are the many different points of entry within the agricultural value chain for youth agripreneurs. And so my name is Laura Dillon Binkley. I will be your moderator for today's session. And just a word about me, I'm based in Djibouti and I work on a USAID workforce development program. I'm a specialist on youth employment and entrepreneurship, and I work with the Education Development Center, who is also the implementer of the Haguka Dukore Kazi Kunozi project here in Rwanda. And during today's session, we will meet two youth agripreneurs who come from very different ends of the agricultural spectrum. And we will also get the perspective of the development side as well as the government side in terms of opportunities and support that you can find as youth agripreneurs. So let me have the honor of inviting up the Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Geraldine Mukishimana, to launch us off with some opening remarks before we get into the panel session.
Thank you, moderator. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here when we are talking about young people and agribusiness. So I guess we say that all of us, we work in agriculture sector, and I like to start by telling young people the time when I meet them that it doesn't matter what you are doing, agriculture or agribusiness or the food systems, they all the time have a niche for you. So even if you are a photographer, I guess this guy taking pictures, he can tell you how excited he is to be in agribusiness world. So, yeah, really, this is an exciting time, and us as African youth, we need to take advantage of it. The reason is that there is a number, everyone likes to talk about it, is that agribusiness is said to be a $1 trillion industry in the next 10 years. That is a business. And when we speak of that industry, we don't have to be thinking all the time about the production. So those who do not farm, I think this is the right place for you as well, because we are talking about everything from production to the consumer. So in the middle, everyone can fit. It doesn't matter who you are or what you want to do. And I think that is an exciting thing. But coming back to us, people in the room, the young people, it's important that also we get to know that Africa is the most young continent on this world. We are talking about 60% of our, even 65% of our population being under 25. I think I was there when the president was talking about immigration and the young people were asking hard questions. These people are trying to migrate because they think that there are job opportunities somewhere else. Then the question comes to be, why aren't we staying home and get job opportunities? So I want to tell you that agribusiness or the food system is an area where majority of jobs are residing as we speak, even the next coming years. Because having those two things, the market potential, our leaders have worked hard to open the borders so that we can trade among ourselves, but also having a young population. And when I speak of a young population, what you need to know is a person who works in the agricultural sector, we struggle to get our farmers to do what is needed to be done. So what I have been observing in the last 3 to 4 years, I see some of them sitting here, is that the job becomes much, much easier when you are dealing with young people. Anyone who knows how extension is a difficult job, I have seen young people, they don't even need an extension worker. They do it by themselves. So they have a way of searching for information, communicating among themselves, and solving their problems. So what I'm trying to say here is that our continent is making progress as well. And as we go forward, the rate of literacy are becoming much, much more than the previous generations, which means the players of agriculture sector are becoming smarter and smarter all the time. And as an agriculture minister, I tend to read what happened in other countries to develop very quickly. And what I can tell you, every single nation that is in this world, that is a powerful nation, went through agriculture. They started by agriculture, industrialization, and then the service and everything took off. So I don't expect that Africa, we are going to go through a back road trajectory. So we need really to be working on this and make sure that we are getting there. I see some young people in agribusiness in Rwanda. I know we worked together to know what is really stopping the young people to be doing what we are talking about. They are, some people say that they are not interested in agriculture. At least what I'm seeing from where I sit, young people are interested in agriculture. And yes, they are. So what we need to do is making sure that we are removing obstacles that are stopping them to make progress and make a decent living out of agribusiness. We have two main challenges that we are working on. Because I said that it doesn't matter which field you come from. In agribusiness in Rwanda, we have some people coming from the media, coming from accountants background. So most of these people, they face two challenges, even the ones who grew in agriculture schools anyway. There is a skill gap. That is the number one challenge that we see. And the second one is the financial capacity, or accessing to the financial means for them to grow. So these are the two big challenges that we see in everyday's life. What we do as the government of Rwanda, we made sure that we are mainstreaming youth employment because our continent needs to create massive amount of jobs, but also trying to fix the financial challenges that they are facing. For the capacity gap fixing, we have created a lot of programs to make sure that young people are trained. I don't speak about traditional schools, though we have a large network of college graduates who are interested in agriculture business, but also shaping up specific skill fixing interventions. We get them to be trained in regular agriculture schools, but also through partnerships and friendships. We make friendships that are also providing such practical skills to our people. Recently, this month, Rwanda, in partnership again with our friends, we created a specific institution that is teaching agriculture in an unconventional way to make sure that the entrepreneurship skills are taught from the first year of college, because otherwise we have been training from the college graduates upward, but we realized that this time we need to start early enough. And the college is up and running. It started this September, the past September, and it's open not only for Rwandans, but also for our African brothers and sisters. And I can guarantee you it's a world-class institution. It's located in an hour drive from this place. And for the financial gap, I cannot tell you that we are where we want to be. We are working on different programs. We have a program that is mainstreaming youth employment, providing the startup kids, we call it startup kids, providing the guarantee fund, but my observation is that not a massive number of youth are going through and making a progress. So again, we are designing another program bigger than that, that is looking at financing agriculture in a general way, but we are advocating for specific affirmative actions for young people, because we know they have no land, they have no credit history, they don't have a collateral. So as a government, we need to make sure that we are also looking at this for them to have much easier life to move in agribusiness. Otherwise, I know that they are interested. I see the excitement. Actually, sometimes I tell other leaders, if you want to fix issues of markets, markets in agriculture are most of the time broken. If you want to fix the issues of nutrition, as Africans, the only way you need to go through young people. So, I guess this session is, to me, is the most exciting session. And I want to welcome you to the session, but also giving you an agricultural welcome to Rwanda. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable, for those encouraging words. So I'd like to ask our panelists to please come to the stage. So hopefully today we will see some of the challenges that the minister talked about, but get down into a little bit more detail in terms of some of the challenges that our two entrepreneurs here have encountered. And they're not always the challenges that you think they will be, but also really learning from our other two panelists on this side, kind of what is it that is there to support you in overcoming these challenges. So I did want to welcome the representative from the FAO. Welcome. So to start with, I want to ask our panelists to each introduce themselves, to introduce their name, the business or organization that they come from, and a little bit about what they do in these companies and these organizations, and then the country that they come from. So could I start down here with Wandi?
Hello, everyone. My name is Wandi Kazim. I'm the founder of Wandiville Media. We do marketing communications in the agriculture and food space. We work with, depending on what your target market is, it can be farmers, stakeholders, policy, government officials. We've worked in Nigeria, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Kenya, Pan-African, hopefully Rwanda soon. And I'm from Nigeria, like I mentioned.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dieudonné Twahirwa. I'm coming from Gashora Farm. Gashora Farm deals with chili and chili products. We do production and export of chili and its chili product to Asian market and European market. Thank you.
Is this better? Okay. I was saying that the Minister of Agriculture is my boss, so I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the National Agriculture Export Development Board, and we're in the business of supporting the private sector grow agricultural exports to the region and to the rest of the world. And I will look forward to engaging with you this afternoon.
Hello? Yeah. My name is Belinda Giza, and I'm Rwandan. I work for an organization called 1 Acre Fund. 1 Acre Fund operates in 6 countries across Eastern and Southern Africa. And what we do is essentially serve farmers. We serve approximately 800,000 farmers across Africa. Providing our core model is asset-based loans, so giving farmers inputs on credit, providing training on good agricultural practices, delivery of farmer inputs close to where they live, and market facilitation. Thank you.
Thank you. So I would like to start by asking a few questions to our two entrepreneurs over here. So first of all, and we can start with you one, well, let's start with Diego. So Diego, yes. Tell us a little bit about what brought you to launching this business. What was the market gap or opportunity that you saw that led you to this business? What were some of the skills or knowledge you had that helped you in the business, and what did you have to learn to be successful in the business? And what initial capital did you start up with?
Okay, that's a good question. I start with my background. I am an agronomist by professional, but after graduating in 2012 from the National University of Rwanda, I had a small experience with a private company here doing agriculture. So from there, I worked there for a few months, and I gained some experience on practical skills about agriculture. From there, because I had some entrepreneurship mindset, I was trying to find something I can start with in agribusiness. By starting to explore the opportunity, I met my friend who had started venturing in tomatoes and the other vegetables selling to the local market. He started to show me around, show me the opportunity in farming. That's how I started, because at the beginning he showed me a local farmer who had started already to produce, and the farmer didn't have enough capital to continue to reach the harvesting stage. So I think I can jump on the capital I started, because I gave this guy 300,000 francs, which is about $320. And the farmer had a small plot of tomatoes, and he was actually to 1 month to harvesting stage. And after 1 month, we started to harvest. We got about 1.3 million, which is about $1,500 in a small plot of tomatoes. I think that's what now pushed me to see, like, now I have to dedicate and put much effort in agribusiness. So that's how I shift, and I had to leave that place that Honorable Minister has mentioned, that it's a 1 hour driving from here, where there's this institution coming. So that's why even the background of my company is called the Gashora Farm. That place is called Gashora. So I went and stayed there. It became my daily work, because then after harvesting that small plot, I had now to partner with my friend. We now start to venture on 1 hectare of tomatoes, and then we could make some good money. But as maybe you are aware, local markets, and of course, if you don't have contract farming, the price may change. So sometimes I could make money, and another time I lose. It could depend on supply and demand. Then I said, someone who did agribusiness. To make agribusiness, you need to have contract farming. So it's when I said, okay, now I need to find someone who can give me a contract, and then I start to grow for him. So by attending some conference organized by different institutions, I met an exporter, and also I had to go to the NAIEB to find ask them who is the exporter, who is the real exporter. So I met one of them. He gave me a contract. I started to grow for him. So I think that's how I started from the chili tomatoes, and the exporter was exporting chili. That's how I went from tomato to chili. I started by supplying him, and later I had to continue to see if I can get my own market. By attending different exhibitions and the conferences, I got the opportunity also by getting my own contract. I think that's how I started.
Thank you. Now, Wandi, you work in a very different space related to agriculture, which most people don't think of necessarily as part of agriculture. But could you tell us a little bit about what brought you to this idea of media and agriculture, and kind of how did you start? What were the skills and knowledge that you had going in? What did you need to gain, and what was your startup capital?
So it's funny, Diego talked about tomatoes. I actually worked with the Dangote Group in Nigeria, managing a tomato processing plant. It's one of the biggest in Africa. And at that time, President of African Development Bank, the Minister of Agriculture, was the Minister of Agriculture in Nigeria. So at that point, we were working on policies for businesses, and we would literally go into communities, build processing plants, build bridges, schools, inputs, and the farmers' impacts, people were talking about, nobody was talking about it. So farmers could actually get employed, they could send their children to school, build houses, and mainstream media wasn't talking about it. I thought it was amazing. Whenever I go to the communities, I'll hear the stories. And I figured, why not? Someone should talk about this. So I decided, why not try? I had nothing to lose. I decided to start interviewing farmers, beneficiaries, impact stories, what the problem was, the solutions, and what kind of impact it made in their lives. I started with even researchers at IIT. Nobody really talks about them. They don't get media, all the projects they're working on. How did I get started? I had no experience. I knew the network very well in the agri space. But then I read up, I was on YouTube. I focused on my strengths. I wasn't trying to edit videos, interviewing different people in the sector. And with time, we have a newsletter that we have. It's one of the biggest agriculture newsletter in Africa. It's a weekly newsletter. Different people from Africa, international people. From these interviews, people have been able to gain grants, investment. Luckily for me, last year, I got into a fellowship in New York at Cornell. It's a program where they teach you how to communicate media and agriculture. I did that, but I also invested in myself. So what a lot of people don't know is you're getting to that point where I sold my car to start my business. I was ready to buy a new car. And I sold my car to invest in myself. So Uber was my best friend. And with time, I'd spent money to invest in like presenting, interviewing classes. And with time, the narrative started changing. People started wanting to be part of the conversation. And actually, IIT actually gave me one of my first communications jobs. So that's how I pretty much started.
Thank you. And,
Thank you.
and could you share with the audience also, what do you hope to achieve by bringing media and agriculture together?
For me, Africa has a lot of opportunity, and not just Nigeria, the whole continent. Opportunity when it comes to agriculture, food, added value. We could actually lead in the continent. I wanted people to see Africa as investment. We don't need aid, we need more investment, more processing facilities, more added value. And a lot of people in Africa, young entrepreneurs, are doing amazing things. I wish I could cover everything, but the opportunities here. So I wanted the world to see that. And so one of the key things for me was also changing the narrative, telling the story differently to other parts of the world.
Thank you. Bill, could you talk a little bit about what you see as some of the opportunities for youth in agripreneurship, especially in relation to the export area?
Thank you. First and foremost, based on the statistics that were shared, the food market is the opportunity, and the other backward and forward linkages. So in terms of opportunities, they are immense. The population is growing. What's critical is for the young or the youth that are involved in this sector or that are keen to join the sector is to identify what part of that value chain would you be interested in. The example that Diego provided is that to understand where you think you can provide either a service or a product, but that you're passionate about, that you're willing to invest time in, and that it has an opportunity for scale. Because whatever you do to survive long term, you have to build scale. If you don't build scale, you will die. So whatever you try to do is you need to find a way of building scale. And there are different ways of how you can build scale. You can build scale alone, or you can build scale with others. So for the young people is to understand that the opportunities are there, but you start small, you learn, you grow for you to survive in the long term. When we look at the export market, even before we look at the export market, to understand the different dynamics of the domestic market, the market is evolving. It's moving away from the physical market to market getting closer to the consumer. And it's getting closer to the consumer through electronic means, whereby today people would like to focus more time on what they do, and somebody else provides the service of getting that product closer to them. And that can be through delivery companies, it can be through web applications on phones. So the market is changing. So when you're looking at the market, you need to understand who is your target market and how do you get to them quicker and in a cost-effective manner. The international market is also changing. We're seeing the market getting closer to the domestic market. There's a time when everything was about globalization, but you can see a lot of dynamics now changing to the domestic market, moving a lot away from the global market, but also closer to the domestic market. If we give an example of Rwanda today, about 5 years ago, agricultural exports to a large extent were to the global market. But today, over half of what we export is to the regional market. So understanding the dynamics of the different trends can help you position yourself depending on which market that you're targeting.
Thank you. And Belinda, can you talk a little bit about the opportunities that you see for youth entering agriculture?
Yes, thank you. So I think I'll share just a couple of statistics before I get into the opportunity. And in Rwanda, for example, agriculture sector employs 70% of the labor force, which is telling. In Africa, the continent, the agriculture sector will and does employ more youth than all other professions combined. So there is a lot of opportunity there. And just to echo the Honorable Minister's statistics, I think it is going to be $1 trillion industry in 10 years. And when we look at some other statistics, 50% of youth are in the workforce, and of those, 68% work on family farms. And of course, that percentage increases when you put in other ag-related businesses. So there is immense opportunity, and it's growing, it's only growing as the years go by. Now, the first, I think one of the most important ways to leverage opportunities in the sector is to boost small farm productivity. With our farmers, for example, we see that using basic productivity methods such as using improved inputs, training on good agricultural practices, microdosing of fertilizer, increases their yields and their profits compared to traditional farmers. They have about 30% more yield than if a farmer uses traditional methods. However, again, highlighting what opportunities we still have in the Rwanda context, only 70% of farmers actually actually not using these methods. So they're still using traditional methods. And we also have 45% of farmers who have not adopted improved inputs. So there is still a lot of opportunity there. And productivity also has add-on effects. So obviously with increased productivity, you're increasing your profits, and you're able to invest in ag businesses or even non-ag businesses. The other knock-on effect would be increasing demand in the value chain. So other ag-related businesses such as something that's very related would be you would need storage. So there's increase in jobs in warehouse construction and maintenance. There's increase in ag input processing and such activities. So I think increasing productivity is really centered to increasing opportunities in this industry. The second, I think, very valuable opportunity, especially in the Rwandan context, is investing in high-value crops. So with our small land sizes, we are not particularly competitive on the international market, trading in commodity crops such as maize. However, we can be very competitive in high-value crops, just like Diego's business in chilies, the same in macadamia nuts and fruit trees and such. I think investing in high-value crops creates a lot of opportunity. For example, in some trials that we've done, we see avocado yields 5 times more profit than maize. So I think these two kind of opportunities is what I would emphasize. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So if I can turn back to our two entrepreneurs. So starting a business is one thing. Growing a business is yet another thing. So I'll start with you first, Wendy. Tell us a little bit about what it took to grow your business. So, what were some of the main challenges that you encountered and how did you address those along the way? As well as what support did you receive to help you grow your business, or what support or knowledge do you wish you had had along the way?
Thank you. So for me, like most entrepreneurs, is obviously funding. It was hard to convince people in the agriculture space to spend on communication. It's still a problem. I'm still a champion of you should have a budget for communication in the agri space. Did I get support? No, I've not been able to access grants. We don't have grants available for communications in the agri space. That's the truth. All the grants go to impact on farmers, agripreneurs, but not impact on communication. So it's still something I'm trying to fight. In terms of funding, I said I was about to buy a new car. I sold my old car and used my money. I invested in myself. And for me to invest in myself, I had to convince my family so they would support me. So once I made that investment, I was lucky to have family and friends. But one of the key things I was able to leverage on was my network. Network was big for me. And I guess that's how I got here on the stage. So, am I missing any other question?
So what support did you receive along the way?
So no, I didn't get any support. I'm still hoping I'll be able to access some grants. So right now, it's just businesses that believe in us and we're doing communication, but no support, just support from family members. And family members, that's pretty much it.
And were there skills that you had to build to continue being successful?
Oh, definitely. I'm sure if you follow me on Twitter, I'm always reading news, not just Nigerian news in the agri space, Rwanda, Kenya, Ghana. I want to know what's going on. I'm a researcher. I'm always researching things. Opportunity, invest in classes that could, trainings that could support myself in. I'm always looking for a way to get better because you always have to be. And I'm creating a new niche because I don't know anybody strictly focused on media in the agricultural space. So it's like you're pretty much creating new things. We do stuff like radio jingles in different languages, how to get community engagement. So it's pretty much new. We're training, learning from other different countries, from development countries. And it's just learning pretty much, always learning. You never know it all.
Yeah. And talk to us a little bit about the role of the quality of your work and how you've been able to attract customers.
I'll go back again to the network. Apart from our newsletter is pretty strong. We're always collecting database and contacts. So if you see your name on the list, sorry, I apologize in advance. But I focused on my strengths. Like I didn't want to edit videos or, do graphics or anything. I had other people that could do that for me. So what I did was I leveraged on my strength, my network, and from different stories, as I said, in Africa, there are a lot of amazing entrepreneurs doing amazing things, from processing, packaging, nuts, name it, packaged cassava. There's a lot of people. So what I've done is interviewing different people in that sector and see what the opportunities are. The opportunities for investment into like little SMEs, but opportunities for grants. So it's also an opportunity just to link them up. I'll be able to leverage, not just in Nigeria, Africa is important, but if I tell you my secret, but just the newsletter is amazing. That's what it is. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Diego, tell us a little bit about some of the main challenges you encountered growing your business, as well as some of the support you received along the way or that you wish you had received.
Okay. Thank you. Maybe if I start about the challenge, even the Honorable Minister has mentioned that all the youth who have the skills, and when it's at this farming, we didn't have so many mentors in horticulture to mentor, tell us the right information, help us budgeting, tell us our costs, give us the right techniques, good chemicals to apply, fertilizer. So this we had to learn in a hard way. That was my first challenge I've met. The second one, which was also very big challenge to me, to get the reliable market, because we could, by reading, say, maybe in April there is shortage of tomatoes, for example. You start to plant, aiming to harvest in April, then you go to the market, find so many trucks in the market. So it was hard to get the reliable market, and so that to be able even to anticipate on how much the income we could get after harvesting. So the main other challenge I've met, of course, I can say the finance, but the finance, it comes when you want to scale up. But when you're still working on your model, I think the finance is not an issue, but when you want to scale up your model and your business growing, it's hard to get so many people believe in youth and also, again, in agriculture. So that's the three main challenges I've met. Yeah, information also is the key when I'm talking about the something which I should have known before. Like, I'm saying I didn't have enough information, but maybe myself, I blame I didn't put so much effort in searching the right information. Like I didn't go first to NAEB, to MINAGRI. Of course, there's some institution I should have started with, and which could help me if, before I start that. But I think I'm happy that I had to learn from hard way, but I wish I could have mentors before I start to do this business. The support, to be honest, there's nothing I could achieve if I couldn't get any support from people, because our government's really putting good environment for us. We have any challenge, for example, if I have any obstacle in my business, I just talk to direct person and they respond directly. If in terms of finance, also we managed to get some grants to scale up our business. Thanks for the USAID, because I've got some grants from USAID. That's when yeah, but I always encourage the fellow youth that we have first to do our model, then we look for finance to scale up. Yeah, I think that's maybe you can something to add.
Sure. So, and talk to me a little bit about kind of consistency and quality and how that provided a stumbling block for you in relation to exporting.
Yeah, if in terms of export, maybe also something to be, maybe sex in business to have to be successful, because I didn't start with export, but when after getting the contract to the other exporter, it's made me realizing that the export market is a huge opportunity, because I could see the gap between the import and the export. And when you're looking for the export market, you look at the big niche of market. That is a big opportunity, and it could be easier to scale up because there is a unlimited demand. So that's why I have to stay in that export. And also it has its challenge as we're dealing with the fresh product. After sorting and getting the first grade to the export market, we used to always remain with the second grade, which before we could put in the West. But again, we came up with the idea or the innovation of what we can do with this second grade. That's how we came up with the idea of making the chili oil and the chili sauce. So I think the main idea is just to always to be persistent. If there's any challenge, you try to see how you overcome by bringing some innovation in.
And Diego, you had also shared with me an experience where you tried to scale up too quickly and learned a hard lesson. Could you share something about that?
Yeah, actually, the model right now I'm using for chili is we do have our own farm, and also we contract other farmers. But this model also I used it for tomato when I started. As I said, I started by buying a small plot of someone who had already started. So by also doing my own farming on my own area, that 1 hectare, when the things was doing well, I could get good money at the market. I was to come back to the area where I was in Bugesera, the shore, and some neighboring sectors. I go to visit those farmers, then I start to say, like, okay, I can see how much can I give this farm of yours. Then I continue the remaining activity. So sometimes it was hard because I did that, and the price fluctuated for like almost 3 months, and I think I made a big loss. And actually, even I had the idea of going back and apply for a job, for the white-collar job. And the job I got was like this kind of part-time job, and I didn't quit to the business. I could say maybe I still have my model, I have my team on the field, let me go maybe bring some other investment to inject in the business. But I remember when the first week when I went to the field, I went like in the west while I was farming in the eastern province. When I came back, I found like, although I'm coming up with some money, but the loss a lot. Then I say, it's better I focus on these things, and because I could lose like some crop on more than 1 hectare, and when we anticipate, could estimate like about $6,000 per hectare as an income, yet I was maybe working for about $500. So I said, maybe I should, instead of losing all these things, let me come and focus on this business of myself.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with Belinda. Could you tell us a little bit about some of the support that 1 Acre Fund provides to agripreneurs?
Yeah, so in a number of ways, I think we work with agripreneurs, we work with farmers. One is, like I mentioned before, a major focus is to increase small farm productivity. And we've seen that just $100 of donor funds yield 7 full-time youth jobs and $440 in incremental wages. So it goes a long way with a small investment. We started in Rwanda about 12 years ago with 38 families and now serve 375,000 families to date. And what we've seen in the farmer journey is our focus, and still is our focus, is to ensure that farmers or families have enough food on their plates to feed their families. However, many of our farmers and the population is advancing from that. They are feeding their entire families and looking for better opportunities to be able to take their kids to school, not only high school, but university, and better their livelihood. So we are graduating from that focus to continue to move with the trend. So one thing that we're following with the farmer journey is to now think through commercialization. How do we move farmers or support farmers from subsistence farming to commercialization? So we're looking at things like I mentioned, high-value crops, investing in high-value crops, investing in the value chain, in processing, in agri-processing, in market access. So that's something that we're supporting with. Secondly is on-the-job training. We're very lucky to be a very big employer and get a lot of good talent. So I don't think there's any better way than actually having practical skills in the workforce. We hire close to 2,000 individuals across the country, and a lot of them are youth, actually. So in partnerships with a lot of universities in Rwanda and across the continent, we find a lot of good talent. We actually specialize in internship programs, which builds and grows people's skills to be able to gain employment with us or even within other institutions. So I think this is a single very powerful tool. And again, to echo the minister, you can find your niche in anything. So we have individuals working in field operations, in product innovation, in R&D, in finance, in HR. So there is a whole lot of agriculture direct related opportunities and other opportunities that we're continuing to build talent on. Lastly is through different partnerships with government. One is through extension services, where we have farmer promoters who are government volunteers offering training on agriculture practices, on pest and disease training and other types of training. And you find a farmer promoter in every village, so there's very easy access to get this information. The other partnership that is relatively new is in seed production. So we want to actually produce all of the seeds that we consume here or locally. So that is something that we're partnering with government in Rwanda.
Great, thank you. So, Bill, can you talk to us about the support systems that NAIB has in place for young entrepreneurs?
Thank you. the support systems that we have, when you look at the value chains that we support, given the different interventions at different levels, there are opportunities for the youth. When you look at tea, there's a lot of expansion taking place now, and we get a lot of youth groups that are participating in tea expansion. But also in, just like Belinda mentioned, in extension services, we're engaging more and more youth in farmer field schools to engage with the farmers to improve their productivity. But at the same time, in value addition, we're seeing small startups come up to add value to the tea that we predominantly export. We export almost over 90% of our teas, but we're seeing a lot of value addition taking place, that places ready to consume tea on our shelves. The same is happening in coffee. A lot of coffee shops that are mushrooming up in Kigali, and we find that it's mainly the young people behind this. So that is a very encouraging trend where people look at what's happening, the investments that the government has put in place for a very long period of time to take advantage of the opportunities that are derived from that. Horticulture is the new trend that is where we see a lot of youth participating, both from production to value addition to exports. We're seeing a lot of them also engaged in door-to-door delivery services of some of these products. So we're seeing a lot of innovation, and out of the interaction that we've had with a number of the young people, we're coming up with a program that is going to have an incubator, and out of the incubator we'll then see how we can move on to support the youth to accelerate their growth, and hopefully in the future be able to attract even investors into some of these companies. So there's still a lot of work to be done, but to a large extent, the government policy that is in place to support the youth, education, practical training, a lot of them, the government sends them to Israel. There are those that have gone to the United States. There are quite a number of programs in place to support the youth. We involve them in extension services, like I mentioned, in tea and coffee. There are quite a number of dedicated schemes to support them even access finance through BDF, where they provide guarantees that can be able to support those that do not have collateral. In our own institution, we have a grant scheme that we've been running for the last couple of months. So there's a lot that is taking place. But we need to continually be engaged, because what we've seen is that the entry level, quite a number of youth startups hardly survive the first year. And then even as they survive the first year and move to the same level, you still find that a number get out. It's difficult to find a startup that can go up to the 5th year, because once it gets to the 5th year, there's a lot of knowledge that has been gained, a lot of experience, and the chances of survival are higher. So trying to learn and support startups that can go beyond the first year, the 3rd year, and we can get them to the 5th year. We believe then that the entrepreneurship among the youth can be able to grow and grow and grow beyond the first year, where everybody gets discouraged and you have very few that survive. So within the different initiatives that we have, we continue to engage. We also learn from them. One thing that I really appreciate with the youth is that to a large extent, engaging with them and listening, you find that they have actually answers to most of what they would want to do, but how you can support them. The support mechanism is what lacks. When we are prescriptive, they tend to resist that because the ideas of today may not necessarily be our ideas of yesteryear when we're doing things a bit differently. They want to move quicker, they want to do things in a more sophisticated way. They want less and less interaction. So listening to them and supporting them, we believe is a better approach. So through this incubator, we hope we can support more youth. Another area before I conclude is the e-commerce platforms. I can say a young lady here who has an e-commerce platform within the audience. There are quite a number of young people that are looking at ways of filling that gap. Despite the challenges, they soldier on and soldier on. So us being present and being able to support them, I think, is the challenge that we are committed to meet. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So I'd like to call out a special intervention at this time, Mark Shute of the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, who will add to this discussion.
Thank you so much. So my name is Mark, and I'm a scientist, but fortunately I also invest a little bit in agribusiness here in Rwanda. So you have to practice what you preach, right? So I can't be blamed for that, at least. So I want to, we see the word youth a lot, of course, in this conference, and also nowadays online in the development and business circles. But I want to actually start with a little, it's not a quiz, but it's more like a show of hands among the audience. Like the word youth, do you think it represents a lot of diversity? So are young people, are they all the same? Or do you think they are very different from each other? So who thinks that young people are all the same? 0 hands, that's good. So who thinks that young people are very different? Aha, okay. That's a very good starting point. Because I think the stories from Jago and Wendy and all the unique stories that you bring to this room, everybody is different. We come from different backgrounds. We have had different opportunities. We have faced different challenges in our lives, right? And still we are all here as young agripreneurs trying to make a business in the agricultural sector. And I think, it's nice that we all agree that young people are different. Because if we would think that young people are all the same, and we would develop one big program to support all young people in Africa, I don't think that would work very well. Now, so we need to move beyond, thinking that all young people have problems with accessing credit, that all young people have problems with accessing land, and that all young people have problems with accessing information. Actually, it's much more complex than that. Because and that's what my organization does, if you try to understand the different groups of young people in Rwanda, in Uganda, in other African countries, you will see that there's so much diversity. There's young people living in remote rural areas. There's young people that are in peri-urban areas. Just imagine what that means in terms of accessing information, market, extension services, etc. There's young people that have different levels of education. Not everybody comes from University of Rwanda with a bachelor degree where you have basic skills of computing, of accessing information through the internet, etc. There's a lot of youth that do not get those opportunities, and still we need to provide opportunities for them in agriculture or in other sectors. There's different levels of aspiration. Not everybody wants to go into agriculture, and I think that's fine, but we need to also provide them with alternative pathways. If people are in different areas, there are different crops that we can grow, there's different crops that we can market, and as Belinda said, high-value crops are nice, but not cannot be grown everywhere in the country. So where you grow up also determines what your opportunities are. And then, of course, then we talked about the network. I really like that idea. We all have our networks that we can mobilize. But not all networks are able to maybe get us a nice first assignment, like what Wendy was saying. And, we need to also take that into account. Now, how can we better understand diversity among young people? And how can we design programs and projects and interventions, policies that respond to that? Now, one of the things that we've recently done with One Acre Fund here in Rwanda is we have done a countrywide survey of farmers, farm households, and try to understand their diversity. So what are the different opportunities that they face? What are the different challenges that they face? And we've tried to give back to One Acre Fund some advice on how they could shape their programs in a better way to respond to the different needs and opportunities of farmers in the country. So my main intervention is, let's look at young people as a very diverse, heterogeneous group. Let's try to develop so that we create equal opportunities for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. So as a final question, I would like to ask all of our panelists, what advice do you have for youth who want to enter the agricultural sector? No particular order.
Okay, I'll go first. So my advice is agriculture is more than farming. There's a lot of opportunities in the sector: logistics, added value, package, post-harvest loss. No matter what happens, please just start. You can never know it all. You're always learning. Just start. I had videos from like 6 months because I was scared to take it out, to release it or publish it out. And I remember when I started, I would get like 4 views. And my brother told me, Mom is always sending all those WhatsApp. Why don't you have our WhatsApp it to all our people? And I started WhatsApping people, sending it out. But just start. You can never know it all. Just start. That's my only advice.
Yeah, my advice is, as Ish mentioned, there's a lot of opportunity in agribusiness. From the input to the final consumer, there's a lot of opportunity. We just have to choose one of them, and which is like to be scaled up, and start small as you can, and then there will be so many challenges you have to persist, and make sure you reach the 5th year, as the ambassador CEO said, because there's so many challenges. But if you quit, it's because you lose a lot of opportunity. Because even if you're not successful in business, at least you are the expert in that kind of field you are in. That's why you have to persist. And because there's one time I had lost so much money in the tomato, but I got like consultants work where there's a World Bank. They try to look 9 crops, comparative advantage on 9 crops in Rwanda. I did on tomato, so I got the money to back on the business. So that's why I need to do. So that was my advice. Thank you.
My advice really would be to the youth to look at agriculture as, or agribusiness as an area where there are immense opportunities for scale. And there's a lot of support from different players in the sector. If you put your mind to it, there will be support somewhere. And if you put your mind to it, you will succeed. And you'll get people to work alongside you for you to be able to succeed. So I encourage the youth that are here, but first and foremost, don't copy. Look for something that appeals to you. Look for something that you feel you can do with passion, and look for something that you feel that if you didn't succeed, you'd be disappointed. So first and foremost, don't copy, don't look at Diego, he's in Chile, so Chile is the area of success, and you go planting chili tomorrow. No, don't do that. Look for your own product and try to build passion around it. Thank you.
I think my piece of advice would be, we've been talking the entire session how there is untapped potential in the agriculture industry. I think it possesses a lot of significant potential for jobs, for employment and business opportunities. However, I don't think it's just the agriculture sector, it's also youth have a lot of untapped potential. And I think incentivizing and facilitating youth in this sector is also very fundamental to encourage innovation and creativity. As Ambassador Bill mentioned, there's a lot of creativity and we need to listen to the youth, listen to the ideas they have and facilitate that and support and work with youth. And I think we won't only create job opportunities or agripreneurs, but we will contribute to reducing rural poverty for youth and adults alike in our continent. And I think one single responsibility I would give to the youth is also seek information, seek education. Get as much information as you can in the sector, in agri-business, in agri-processing, in land, in markets, in finance. And like Ambassador Bill said, be unique in your intervention. I think once you gain all of this information and educate yourself and get the practical skills, then you can, it's just a starting point to your innovation, to your creativity in the agriculture sector. Thank you.
If you allow, maybe I'll just give an idea to the youth on how they can approach, if you're trying to find out what to do. Look for those that have managed to get a certain scale. For example, if I was trying to be an entrepreneur, I'd go to 1 Acre Fund and ask them, what is your biggest challenge? Out of that challenge, there is an opportunity. If you can help 1 Acre Fund solve that problem, you're in business. If you can go to Diego and ask him, you've managed to reach this scale, but what causes you sleepless nights? If you can help him solve that problem, you are in business. So if you can get into the business of being inquisitive on trying to solve problems, if you solve a problem, you get an opportunity to do business.
Great. Thank you all. I heard passion, persistence, innovation, i.e. don't copy. Market yourselves, look for opportunities, turn challenges into opportunities. So this is all great advice. So we want to open it up now to you. I'm sure you have many, many questions, whether it's on the entrepreneur side or on kind of the overall support side. So do we have a microphone that can go around? Okay.
Yes, my question is addressed to the agripreneurs. I know one of the challenges, maybe not the main, is accessing financing. I want to know whether you ever developed business plans. Were these business plans bankable? And did you succeed in getting credit from the bank? And if yes, what is your relationship with the bank now, these financial institutions? Thank you.
Well, yes, I had a business plan. But my business plan, I had to change it along the way. No, I didn't get funding from the banks because, again, it was hard for me. I just didn't want that burden. So I just focused on the market and seeing how I can approach other stakeholders to believe that there's an opportunity for the business and see how I can make revenue from it. But I didn't approach the banks.
Yeah, maybe if I also can comment on that. when I started, they didn't have the business plan, but of course, when you're trying to scale up your business, you try to approach the finance institution, they will ask you for cost of the business plan, but you find the information what they're looking for sometimes not helping you, because you go to look for the finance to scale up your business, and you see the first question they ask you as the bank or the financial institution is your turnover and your past history, and yet you are going to approach them because of maybe the new opportunity, the new order you have, which won't help you. I think the business plan are there, but it doesn't help in solving the challenges we are having in finance.
And sorry, can I add to that? So I meet a lot of agripreneurs that say, oh, the banks don't give us money. I know in Nigeria it might be totally a little bit different, but nobody's going to invest even if you don't invest in yourself. So you need, as a bank, you need track record. If you're lending your money to somebody, you also need track record to make sure you're getting your money back. So it's always best to get from family, friends, invest in yourself first, then you can go to the bank.
Good day, panelists. My name is Pelo Masia. I'm a startup farmer and a founder of Masia Investment Group in Lesotho. So I would like to ask the gentleman, Mr. Diego, I want to understand, how did you maintain consistency in the farming to ensure that when you're in a contract, that the owner of the contract actually gets what they want? Because sometimes you find out that the ways that we were taught or whether we used in the past do not maintain consistency. This year you harvest, next year it's a fail, the following year it's a good yield, the following year is a bad yield. And how do you, in your techniques, how did you adapt to climate change? Because now the climate also affects the yield and the quality of the produce that will be harvested. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. If I start how to be consistent, as I said, I start as a simple farmer supplying local market. The main challenge was the know-how and the market. So by persisting, I had to go to know now the techniques how to grow, and then the remaining challenge was the market. So now how to overcome that, I didn't stop because of the losing money in the market, of not getting the reliable market. I tried to approach different institutions, as I said, NAEB, or also attending other conference. I got a contract to supply an exporter. Also, that exporter, he couldn't provide good seeds, certified seeds. When you don't use certified seeds, you have challenge of have so many reject or second grade. So how I overcome that is to try to see this second grade to transform into chili oil and chili sauce, and just try to find how we can get the certified seeds. From here also had to learn that we need now to find the reliable market, and then in the market contract, the client will tell you what you need to supply. So from that contract now we have to, it's when you go start down preparing the land and you produce according to the buyer's requirements. About the climate change, for horticultural crop, the main thing I even advise other farmers or MINIYOUTH growers is to make sure if they are going to produce horticultural crops, they need to have the permanent source of water. And then from there, they have to find some good kits of irrigation. You can't say like we are in raining season, we rely on rain. So you have to make sure you have the right equipment to do irrigation when it's needed. There is sometimes, because I'm talking about climate change in terms of irrigation, but there's also sometimes when we went to irrigate, so to dry our chili. So to try to mitigate that, you try to find some mechanization to make sure, because sometimes in Rwanda we used to have a dry season between mid-December and mid-February, but sometimes we produce our chili targeting to harvest that period, and the experience we've gotten is that sometimes in that period we had the rain and we had to encounter the issue of aflatoxin because we couldn't use sun dry. Then to overcome that is now next plan. Next stage is to make sure you have the right equipment to dry your chili. I think the climate change is there, but you have to make sure we have the right equipment to overcome that issues.
In the interest of gender balance, is there a female who has a question? Oh, sorry.
Merci. Je m'appelle Sarah Ouedraogo, je viens du Burkina Faso, d'un incubateur qui s'appelle 2IE. En fait, je ne vais pas poser de questions, mais je vais juste faire une contribution. Je pense que c'est aussi l'occasion, quand on est tous ensemble, de pouvoir se donner des idées et de voir aussi s'il y a des choses qui marchent chez les autres. Alors d'abord, je vais féliciter les orateurs. Alors par exemple, au niveau du Burkina, il y a des entrepreneurs qui se mettent maintenant justement à travailler sur les questions donc, de financement donc, des producteurs agricoles. Mais il y a également donc, un entrepreneur qui s'appelle chez nous, M. Bamogo, et qui a créé une assurance qui s'appelle Yellen Assurance. Et c'est justement pour pallier à toutes les problématiques que rencontrent justement les agriculteurs, parce que l'idée c'est quoi? C'est de leur permettre d'avoir un certain matelas de sécurité. Parce qu'à un moment donné, vous pouvez commencer à produire et peut avoir un problème au niveau par exemple de la santé des enfants, qui font que le capital que vous aviez accumulé pour pouvoir l'investir dans l'activité, en réalité, il est cassé et vous reprenez encore un dur labeur de 2 ans encore avant de vous mettre sur un niveau à peu près d'équilibre en fait. Et donc, par exemple, cette assurance qui s'appelle Yellen traite de ces questions-là, voir comment est-ce qu'on peut, je dirais, mieux sécuriser les agripreneurs pour qu'ils puissent donc continuer donc à scale, à monter à l'échelle, plutôt que de toujours recommencer la même chose et la même chose en permanence. Donc ce sont des expériences. Je pensais que ça pourrait être intéressant pour le groupe. Merci.
So it was a contribution, yeah, about insurance in a way to secure entrepreneurs so they don't have to start over again every time. Okay, merci beaucoup. Okay, so let's go way back there.
Hello, my name is Martha from Uganda, and I'm a farmer. I grow onions, red onions mainly. For my, it's not a question, it's just something I need to share with my fellow entrepreneurs. What I feel, what I go through, a quick one. So many times, today the youth, they'll tell you, oh, what are you doing different? And I'm like, oh, I do production. Oh, just production. Oh, you should be doing something different. They expect us to only be doing something fancy. At the end of the day, you go back home feeling discouraged. Am I a loser for me to be doing gardening work? I may not do the real gardening, but I mean, I have people, I'm mainly at production, and I sell my produce. But at the end of the day, we're going to still need the production to be done. So many times they tell me, oh, you should be doing an application in agriculture. No, we're not going to get this food through the apps. We still need to produce this food. So to the fellow youth, the young people like me, please do not give up on production. I get discouraged. So many times I approach people and I'm like, oh, I need doing something. They're like, no, why are you gardening? Why? We still need to produce the real food. And the youth, we have to do this because we still need to feed more and more generations. Thank you.
Okay, let's go back over there.
Merci. Comme nous sommes ici dans Youth Connect Africa, c'est comme une exposition que je vais donner en tant que scout. Nous sommes une organisation qui est une organisation reconnue au niveau mondial. Et nous avons eu une expérience au Rwanda de combiner le ministère de la Jeunesse et l'ICT. Et ça a donné au Rwanda d'avoir des jeunes qui sont maintenant connectés WhatsApp, Facebook et autres médias sociaux. Alors je voudrais proposer, pour que dans les pays africains, on ait un département spécifique dans nos ministères de l'agriculture, aussi connecté directement aux jeunes avec l'agriculture. Sinon, on sera toujours on aura toujours une fin qui ne termine pas dans tous les pays africains, alors que la jeunesse, c'est la force primordiale de nos pays, des pays de notre continent. Merci.
I think here I have a comment. For here in Rwanda, he mentioned that how every ministry of agriculture should have a group, or like a department of the youth. In Rwanda, we have a forum of youth in agribusiness. It's where we channel all our challenges to address to the right people. And also, if there's any opportunity, also, it's where they channel those opportunities to reach to any youth in agribusiness in Rwanda. So I think from there, as Rwandan, we have that advantage of that, having that forum, which is an umbrella of all the youth in agribusiness.
Maybe to supplement, there's a policy, there's a youth in agriculture policy that provides the framework under which different interventions that take place within the sector. But did you say that there should be a department in the ministry? Is that what you're proposing? I don't know if I got that correctly. He was proposing a department. Okay, the Honorable Minister must have had that. That's beyond my pay grade, but I'm sure the Minister had that. But at least there's a policy framework that guides the different interventions.
Yeah, there is a policy framework, and the youth development is all over in our plans. And as Diego said, all of the young people, they channel, they request through the forum. But I wanted to tell the young lady from Uganda that so far we don't know any other science that produces food. So that should be giving you the comfort that no one else in this world is doing a more important job than what she does. So I think that's a big deal. Yeah. And I also want to tell the young people, skills is very critical. I haven't seen any country that developed its agriculture without investing in knowledge and the right skills. That's something, but also never shy away to ask anything, and there is no such thing as a stupid question. And it doesn't matter who you are addressing it to. I can ask you how many times Diego dropped in my office without even calling and saying I'm coming. So don't feel like there is such a distance between you and someone else, because if you start shying away, it's really difficult for you to get solutions. So as a young people, most of the time we tend to feel like there is a distance between us and the scientist somewhere or someone else. I think the benefit of being young is also overcoming that fear. So please, 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 don't shy away from anything or anyone. So I like that they say, I take the lead. Bill has mentioned it. And we don't like it when we sit with young people and then they start crying about problems. wherever there is a problem, that is your opportunity. And I think the young minds are the ones that are ready to get opportunities from the challenges. So you identify your opportunity and then you will find the support to grow it. So I want really to encourage you to be to be growing up instead of, feeling like there are so many challenges. Challenges will be there. Life is all about challenges, but the way you turn them into opportunities, that what matters.
Okay, we only have time for one more question, but the panelists are here, so for the rest of you who have those burning questions, you can approach the panelists after the session. So one final question.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Ministre. Bonjour. Je m'appelle Pierrot Tibassima, je viens de la RDC. En fait, je n'ai pas une question, j'aimerais juste partager avec les jeunes qui sont ici pourquoi moi je suis devenu entrepreneur, en agriculture en plus. En fait, je suis lauréat 2019 du programme de la Fondation Tony Elumelou. Et en fait, comment je suis devenu entrepreneur? Je suis allé un jour dans un supermarché à Kinshasa, où j'habite, et j'ai trouvé une mangue à $10. Une mangue qui est venue de la Belgique à $10. Je me suis posé beaucoup de questions. J'ai dit une mangue à $10 où en RDC, il y a des mangues qui pourrissent dans des provinces et qu'à Kinshasa, on ne peut pas les amener des autres provinces jusqu'à Kinshasa. Et du coup, je commençais, là je venais aussi de perdre mon boulot à Beni à cause de l'insécurité où l'entreprise a fermé. Je travaille dans l'exportation de cacao. Avec la petite économie que j'ai acheté juste quelques portions de terre, 10 hectares. Je me suis dit, ok, je vais commencer. Mais je vais commencer avec quels moyens? Et j'ai commencé à réfléchir et c'est comme ça que j'ai écrit mon projet autour de ramener les produits agricoles qui sont dans d'autres provinces jusqu'à Kinshasa pour limiter qu'on ait des produits qui viennent de l'étranger qui coûtent très cher. Et il y a aussi, en fait, pourquoi je suis venu ici à YAF Connect? C'est particulièrement parce qu'avec les amis, quand on a lu que Diego a décroché un contrat de 5 millions avec la Chine, on disait que non, il n'est pas humain. Donc du coup, je me suis dit, ok, comme il y a une opportunité de venir au Rwanda, je vais venir et voir réellement si Diego est jeune comme moi et s'il est humain. Du coup, je viendrai apprendre de ce qu'il fait et voilà pourquoi je suis là. Merci.
Okay. Okay, one final youth perspective.
Thank you so much. So actually to be here, I literally escaped from school because I really wanted to be and represent the voices of the loudest but never heard voices of young people. My name is Patrick Arekezi. I am a researcher with a youth think tank under Restless Development, and we are carrying out research in 7 different countries across Africa, from Ghana down to Malawi. So we've been speaking about diversity and in diversity of young people, and we really embrace that. But then we realize that we have young people living in rural and in urban. So when we speak about the information flow from our research that was last year, we have it actually saying that information reaching young people through family and peers is at 95% compared to the social media that you have conventionally perceived as the way young people receive information, being at 5%. So I don't know really how inclusive or effective our movements are and how we're able to help young people understand that agriculture is not simply farming, but there is more of a chain that is entailed. And then to the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, we're speaking about young people or the youth being in the agriculture, farming or industry or something like that. But then when you speak about getting information, who leads the research? Who brings the survey to reality? I mean, how are young people engaged? Because when we engage young people, that's when we are able to capture their actual perspectives. Because we, the peers, talking to ourselves, we're able to come up and say, hey, this is a challenge we face. The young person is talking to the young person, and then the solution maybe can actually be found, and the authentic information is out there. So we would like to have maybe responses to this, and we'll be very grateful. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much for all of your great questions and your contributions. This is a subject that we could continue talking about for hours and hours more. It's a passionate subject, but let me go ahead and just summarize some of the main points that came out of our discussion today. So, as the minister mentioned at the beginning, agriculture is a huge sector. And the average age of our agriculturalists is on the older side, whereas the average age of the population here in Rwanda, at least, and in many countries in Africa, is, between 20 and 25, I would say. And so that means there's a huge opportunity for youth to enter the agricultural sector. And as we've heard, there are many different entry points, whether it's food production, and we have to make sure that we don't forget about that in the value chain, because if we don't make the food, we can't process it, we can't market it, we can't do anything else with it. But there are many different entry points along that value chain, and even media in agriculture. We all want to sell our products, and to grow our agribusinesses, we need to market our products. And so we can't forget about connecting investors to the story of agriculture and making sure that our products are attractive to them so that they can bring money to the sector. As Mark Shute from IITA mentioned, there is no single youth agripreneur. We are all different, we all have different needs, we all have different opportunities, and so we have to make sure that our support systems respond to that and don't provide one-size-fits-all type of programming or support. We heard here, and from many of the contributions, entrepreneurship in general is hard work. It is very hard work. Without passion, without drive, you're gonna quit when it gets hard. But the persistence that Diego talked about as well is super important, because if you don't persist, those bad days will break you. And you have to make sure that you are doing your research. If you don't ask the questions, if you don't find the gaps and figure out the solutions, if you do what everybody else is doing, you're not gonna make the money that you want. You're not gonna be able to grow your business because somebody else is going to steal those clients from you. So you have to think about, where are those gaps where nobody else is? Where are those challenges that you can turn into opportunities? And one of the things that I find interesting about these two entrepreneurs as well is they both started small with capital that was from their own pockets. They did not go out and get a loan from a bank. They started with what they had, and they grew that. And money will always be a problem, but not having money from the beginning doesn't mean that you can't start something. So you are all the future of agriculture. And so we all look forward to seeing what you have to bring to agriculture. So before we end today, I just would like to invite up the USAID Mission Director to give us a few parting remarks.
Thank you so much. I think you did an amazing job at summarizing already. What I heard was start small but think big. The answer, the statistics are there. Countries have to invest in agriculture to become a middle-income country, to become an upper-middle-income country, and the population that has to be invested in is youth. So all of the evidence are there, all of the statistics are there. The question that you all really made me think about today is, where then do youth enter? And I love the point that it's not an app. I went to a session on youth and agriculture 2 years ago, and it was all about digital. And while digital is part of the answer, I think we heard today that it's research, it's innovation, it's production, it's post-harvest, it's e-commerce, it's marketing. Agriculture needs youth innovation all across the value chain. So I'm really looking to you for all of the solutions to driving the economy and agriculture forward. My final point is I really liked what the entrepreneur at the end said was, you don't need aid. And I think that from a donor perspective is absolutely true. We think that we're looking how to end the need for aid. And the two ways that I think that's going to happen come back to Honorable Minister's points. It's through finance. The role for donors should be at de-risking ag investment and working with the financial sector. And the second one is skills. I still think there's probably some role at partnering with governments and other institutions on building skills. So I look forward to more partnerships with many of you and your institutions, and just really thank you for this panel and for all the passion and innovation I heard today.
Okay, so thank you so much for participating today. If you do have some questions, I believe we are willing to stay for a little bit and answer some questions. Otherwise, we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Wherever it goes, I always know that you make me smile. Please stay for a while now. Just take your time wherever you go. What am I gonna say when you make me feel this way? I just it starts in my toes, makes me crinkle my nose. Wherever it goes, I always know that you make me smile. Please stay for a while now. Just take your time wherever you go. Wherever you go. 'Cause you make me smile. time to realize my crime. Let me lie and steal. I have danced inside your eyes. How can I be rude? Do you really want to hurt me? Do you really want to make me cry? Precious kisses, words that burn me. Lovers never ask you why. In my heart the fire's burning. Choose my color, find a star. Precious people always tell me that's a step too far. Do you really want to hurt me? Do you really want to make me cry? Do you really want to hurt me? Or do you really want to make me cry? Words of you that I have spoken, I could waste 1,000 years. Wrapped in sorrow, words are token. Come inside and catch my tears. You've been talking, but believe me, if it's true, you do not know. There's more lives without a reason. I'm prepared to let you go. If it's love you want from me, then take it away. Everything is not what you see. It's over again. Do you really want to hurt me? Or do you really want to make me cry? Do you really want to hurt me? Or do you really want to make me cry? Do you really want to hurt me? Or do you really want to make me cry? Do you really want to hurt me? Or do you really want to make me cry? Do you really want to hurt me? Do you really want to make me It's been 7 hours and 15 days since you took your love away. I go out every night and sleep all day since you